Wait. Stop, Mark.
Wait, what happened?
Isn't it Christmas? Don't we need a Christmas song?
I got you, boo-boo. You ready for my Christmas music?
Let's go. Welcome to Real Talk Christian Podcast, where we drink coffee or hot cocoa and have real conversations on faith, culture, and society. I'm your host, Chris Fuller.
And I'm Marc Hyde.
And on today's episode, we are in the Christmas spirit.
Woo-woo!
Talking about Christmas traditions and why they're here and why they matter. Mark, should we get going?
Ho, ho, ho.
Let's go.
Well, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah, it's a little Christmas jingle time.
I like it. I like this Christmas.
I like the ho, 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 too.
Ho, ho, ho. You can't
Ho,
just
ho,
go.
ho.
Oh, you can't just go ho, ho, ho.
He said ho. Hey, Mark.
Who wants to play?
Mark, that's a pretty fancy cup you got there. What you drinking out of right there, buddy?
I am drinking out of this year's RTC Christmas mug.
Look at that,
Complete with,
fanciness.
dude. You put some details into this,
dude. I worked
because
there's a lot of hours.
We got
in
a
that.
cute background with like
Snow
snowmen
falling,
and polar bears and penguins and a.
trees and
You know what's
reindeer.
funny? We were just talking about old trucks and how much you love old trucks.
I do, but do you see the big log cabin with the smoke
I
rolling out?
do.
in
Is
the
that your
background?
cabin in the backwoods of Brown County? Since I doubt Tennessee can get this much snow.
Probably not.
Probably. Do you think one day you will ever own a log cabin, like a real log cabin, not just like a hut and shack or an outhouse?
Have you met my wife? That is not her vibe.
I didn't ask if she was ever going to own one. I asked if
That
you
is
were
not
ever
her-
going to own one.
That's not her vibe. Well, I'm married. We're one. So,
Exactly. Come along for the ride, Janelle. Love your husband.
well,
That's what I hear.
She would, but happy wife, happy life. That's where I'm
but
sticking
think
with.
about it, though. But wouldn't that mean it would be Christmas, like,
Year round.
every day? You could just be a log cabin. You could just have, fire going. You could just have the smells and the bells and the Christmas tree. Because ain't nobody even know where you live. It's like Mark Wahlberg was Shooter. You're living so off the radar. You can't see nothing.
That's going back. That's what 2000 and
Oh, was I in college? Was I
2008?
Was it really that? Was I in high school when that came out?
I thought so.
All I know is I thought it was so cool that he trained his dog. Whenever he walked in the house to go to the fridge and grab him a beer. And I'm like, hey, Mom, can I get a dog so it can grab me a Pepsi every time?
That'd be cool.
She said no.
Or a bubbly.
Or a bubbly.
Bubbly.
Dude,
not
you got
sponsored.
a weird bubbly.
This is the triple berry caffeinated sparkling water. I'm looking. It's actually Janelle got it today, and I was like, man, could I have a try? And she's like, yeah, here. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty good. That's pretty fair. But I'm drinking coffee first.
We're drinking coffee. We're drinking Peruvian coffee today.
We're just jumping right into the coffee.
We're just jumping into the coffee, man.
You know, it's the Peruvian time of year. Actually, it was just at Costco in a big bag, and it was a medium roast. And
Bro,
I'm like,
I offered to bring some bougie stuff today.
I know, and
but I was too late.
You text me, and I was like,
I was too late.
The timer or the coffee pot just went off. It just went off.
Well, tonight was leftover night, and Beth wasn't feeling so hot, so she was just kind of hanging out downstairs. And normally, you would think leftovers are probably the easiest night to cook dinner for.
Yeah.
It's the hardest.
Why?
Because you got to nuke everything. Everybody wants something different. Things are flying out at different times. This one's hot. This one's cold. This kid wants this. This kid wants this. They don't want this.
That's why you nuke everything at 5 minutes, and that way it's like scorching of the earth
Yeah,
hot.
see, that's what Beth does.
And then you toss it off to the
don't.
side, and that way it gives it time to cool while you're warming up everybody. So the younger kids you do first, that way it has more time to cool off.
But man,
and then you move along.
I think I was actively moving in that kitchen for a solid like 20, 25 minutes. Just warming things. I also cooked noodles because we had leftover spaghetti sauce.
It's just like a guy to be like, hey, man, I was slaving away for 25 minutes. And most women are like, are you kidding me? I cook meals for you that take an hour and a half.
And help you guys have a great Christmas season, guys.
And I was just sweating.
I might not make it to the new year after this episode.
Well, I've got
We're here for Christmas, baby.
I've got a couple fun holiday questions for us. You know, typically we do the banter, and during the banter we do little games or whatever. Mm-hmm. We're going to do some holiday questions.
Oh, okay. So question in a box holiday edition.
Kind of, yeah.
We'll call it that. I got my new seat back, so I'm getting used to it again.
Is it okay? Is it Springy?
I feel very tired right now, so
Oh, okay.
I could use a nap.
Okay. So, what's the worst
comfy.
holiday gift you've ever given to somebody?
Wait, that I've ever given?
That you yourself have given. What's the worst holiday gift you've ever given?
I'm sure Beth could give you an answer really quick.
You want me to go first?
Sure. Why don't you go
I wrote it,
first?
so I had time to think about it. So I'm going to give you some time to think.
Huh, okay.
So the worst gift I went to an auction. I must have been, I don't know, 10 or 9 or 10, 11, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Between 9 and 13, that range.
Okay.
I went to an auction with my dad, and I had a couple bucks, and I was so excited. And I bid on these. They were little ceramic pottery looking, like, I don't even know what they were. Like they were mugs without the handle, but they had like grapes on them. And I was like, that's so cool. I'm buying that for my grandma.
Okay. So you bought it for your grandma.
So there's a set of 4. So I bought these set of 4. My grandma doesn't like grapes at all. It has nothing in her house with grapes.
You just thought it was going to be dope. You're like,
I was like, this is so cool, man. Like, this is like high class. Like, this is some classy stuff or drinkware right here. And it's like, I look back out and I'm like, no, it wasn't. It was cheap junk. So I bought these things.
But come on, man. Your grandma must have loved it.
Well, she would have, but then I made a joke, right? So I took all 4 and I duct taped them, like, I don't know, 7 or 8 layers of duct tape just to mess with her as like a joke. And then I wrapped it like several times, like in wrapping paper. So it was like, it took her like an hour to get into it, to find these stupid
You went
little
from
things.
being super sweet to being the punk grandkid.
Yeah, well.
Just like that.
And so I always think about it and I wonder, man, did she think that those were part of the joke too? Because they were that terrible.
Oh, man.
But yeah, that's the worst gift
funny.
I've ever given.
I would say it depends on what you deem as the worst. My favorite gift I've ever given is a signed picture of myself. I did that for a white elephant for teenagers. And best part is that thing got passed around for like 3 years, even after I resigned from the student ministry. That picture was still showing up. Maritza Latson and Josh Latson kept that thing alive for a while.
Nice. But what's the worst?
I don't know, man. Like it's like
what's a gift
you're
you look?
asking the guy who's like has the worst memory.
Okay,
ever.
but you look back and just think about like, all right, I probably shouldn't have done that gift.
I don't have one.
Wow. Okay. Well,
Beth will tell you, I suck at Christmas gifts so much that Beth just says, I want this.
He's like, I'm so terrible at everything. I just do what I'm told.
I either do something that's like super big or elaborate, and Beth is like, I don't really need this. I don't know why you got this. And I'm like, because it's freaking awesome. And it's just not. So
yeah.
I don't know, man. I would say like
guys
I'm
don't
terrible.
we just don't have the same taste. That's all.
And what's funny though is my dad apparently was just as bad as I was, and so my mom would literally do the same thing that Beth did. We're just like, I want this.
Let me tell
Give
you,
me this.
You got to be sneaky though, right? Because everybody nowadays has an Amazon cart, and what you do is you grab your wife's phone when she's not looking, and you get in and look at. Most people are like,
but we share one,
I'm looking.
Man. The family has one.
Oh, okay.
Like
so Janelle and I,
all the Schneiders.
Janelle and I have, we have because you can share the like Prime with.
Right. Yep. Mm-hmm.
But you can have different accounts. So we have different accounts. So because we buy gifts for each other through Amazon, and so that way we can buy gifts
and hide them and whatever.
And
yeah,
so,
that makes sense.
so what I do, or what I've done this year is I go into her phone, I did it for her birthday too. I go into her Amazon cart and go to the saved. And I start scrolling through. What has she been looking at?
Janelle's not that sneaky. She just shoots me a text.
Yeah, I know.
And she
right?
goes, I need help with Fuller. I'm like, I got you.
Yeah, well,
that's been the last couple of Christmases.
This year, she's going to enjoy what she got because she told me and she thinks I forgot, but I haven't.
See, here's the deal with Beth: is she is the most content person in the world. Where she's like, I don't need a whole lot. Just give me time with you and some fun and some games, and I'm cool.
Sure.
Except when she wants something, and that's the other thing too. And part of it, I love you, babe. Part of it has something to do with the fact of I think of her being single for so long, where she's like, if she wants something, she needs it, she gets it. Because Beth doesn't buy frivolous things.
Sure,
she gets things when she needs them. So trying to buy a gift for someone who does not need frivolous things and just enjoys people time, is hard.
See, I'm like that.
I guess I could just start buying experiences. She'd probably enjoy that.
That's always a good thing, right? Is buying date nights.
And I suck at finding babysitters. Because all my babysitters have graduated or got married.
But you just got
kids.
You got to reach outside of the comfort zone. And like, you guys are going to a whole new church. There's a bunch of people in there.
We got 7 kids, man.
So
I can't just ask an 11-year-old to come babysit a 16-year-old.
Split them up. Hey, 2 go here, 3 go there. Who
That
got
is
5?
true. That is
Who
true.
got 5? I got 5
All
over
right,
here.
next question, though. Next question, because I feel like I'm going to keep getting in trouble the more and more we talk.
Next question. What's your favorite outdoor winter activity?
Oh, okay. So, this sounds really funny. I actually hate playing in the snow because I have bad circulation in my fingers and my toes.
So you get
my,
cold
yeah, I
really
get cold
easy.
very fast.
Sure.
But I actually...
You need those ones that they have gloves that heat. Yeah.
I got them. I got them this year. So I actually love snow blowing. Absolutely.
That's your favorite
love
winter
snow blowing,
activity.
man. Because I don't just go outside and play in the snow. Like snowman or icicle. I would say licking icicles is one of my favorites too. I like making icicles.
Weird.
But I don't just go out. Like even when I was a kid, I don't just go out and play in the snow.
Oh, man, I used to live outside. We'd build snow forts and have snowball wars.
I did when I was younger,
and all that.
but when I hit
that's all we
teenager
did.
age, I didn't
Yeah.
anymore.
I mean,
I'm a boring
pretty
person.
much
I'm sorry.
my whole, till I graduated, we did that. Just built snow forts and all sorts of stuff. But anyways.
I do love doing donuts in the parking lot.
My favorite outdoor activity in the wintertime has to be tubing. That's my absolute. I haven't been able to do it for a few years, but I love tubing.
I haven't been too. Actually, can I renege on my answer? This would be a lot of fun. There's that toboggan chute.
Yeah.
Where's that? Is that up in St. Joe or where's that at?
So yeah, but
that was
would
a
be,
heck of a lot of fun.
I've never done that, but that'd be fun.
I haven't been tubing since I was in high school.
Yeah.
It's probably been a solid 14 years.
I do enjoy cross country skiing too. I know it sounds weird.
Do you enjoy snowshoe? Because I know Mike Edwards, he loves going snowshoeing over at Erskine.
I'm
you
not
ever
a
done
huge snowshoe guy. I like the cross country skiing though, which is kind of like snowshoes, but you got skis.
That's true.
And you just kind of push and skate. It's like skating. I enjoy ice skating too, but I would probably say my favorite.
Oh yeah. See, I suck. This is where I suck. My memory just pulling stuff out of like you can't just ask me questions. But yeah, I enjoy ice skating too. That's a lot of fun.
Well, let's move on. Okay. What is your favorite holiday movie?
Hands down, Santa Claus. Tim Allen, baby.
Tim Allen,
Hands
Santa Claus.
down.
So I would have to say I love that movie, but my favorite would be the.
Don't say Polar Express.
No, but we just did watch that today. Would be the newer Miracle on 34th Street, the one from the 90s.
Oh, I know that one. Yeah, my sister loved that one.
That's probably my favorite holiday movie.
No, I would say hands down.
The Santa Claus.
Or I actually really enjoy the little kid shows where they do Christmas versions of things. So I also one of my favorite kid movies that I love watching with the kids is Christmas Monkey with Curious George.
Okay. I feel you.
They had the song Christmas Monkey. So I love Curious George Halloween. Love it. Curious George, all of it, man. We're a Curious George family. So I love Curious George Christmas.
Gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, Santa Claus, hand down.
All right.
Santa Claus is the GOAT.
So what was the best snow day of your childhood that you can remember?
Okay. So I got 2.
All right.
I definitely got 2. One was in the year, I would say maybe 2000. We had a nasty blizzard that shut us down out of school for a solid week.
1997, I believe, is when it was.
No, this was Northwest Indiana, so not South Bend. And I would have been too young for that because my buddy Steve wasn't in town. So this was right around 2000.
Okay.
So we got a ton, but we got we were in this awkward armpit, over in the region.
Sure.
Where it's normally it would skip over us and then it would just dump on the port and dump on Michigan City and then hit South Bend.
We always get the lake
but
effect.
this year it dumped first rather than going over us and then dump it on you guys. And so we were out of school for a solid week and our front yard had a sidewalk down the middle and it became the neighborhood snow fort wars. So one side was the boys, one side was the girls, and it wasn't just family. It was 6 or 7 different houses in the neighborhood, man, and it was just awesome. We built a little underground passageway. I remember I will never forget that Christmas.
Nice.
The other one was school got canceled. And so, of course, our class was like, hey, since school's canceled, should we all drive anyways and go sledding? And so, our whole class, our youth pastor showed up, one of the teachers, and we just went over to Erskine, and we just sledded. We made some nasty, huge ramps, and we're just getting air.
Nice.
So that was actually I think that was probably the last time I've been tubing, actually.
Wow.
I don't know if I've been tubing with the kids.
You probably should.
I probably should.
Your kids aren't.
But I don't know if I've gone tubing with the kids.
Yeah.
That's hard work getting 7 kids bundled up, man.
So my favorite, well, most of your kids are old enough they can get them self-bundled now. Yeah. But my favorite snow day childhood memory was I think it was 1999. We got hit again, but this time it was really, really bad here in South Bend. And I was homeschooled.
It might have been 99.
I was homeschooled, so it wouldn't have mattered.
Okay.
But I remember going, so there was, so you know where York and Jackson, that school, what's that school right there? On York and Jackson, corner of York and Jackson.
Yeah, that's Hamilton.
Hamilton. So they have a wicked hill.
Because Marshall's a little bit farther north. Yeah, Hamilton.
They have a wicked hill on
that
the
hill that
south
goes
side.
down. Dad goes to the soccer fields.
I used to
Yes.
go. The Christmas before, I had just gotten a snowboard from my grandfather, and so man, I waxed it all up, and I went down there and I snowboarded. I don't know, probably 8 or 9 hours on the hill. And it seemed like a huge hill back then. I go look at it now. I'm like, oh, that's just a little tiny
But for
thing.
a kid,
But
like
it was
a 10-year-old, 11-year-old kid, that's awesome.
We went there and we went sledding and snowboarding all day long. And then we came back and my dad had come home from work early and he had just gotten us a PlayStation for Christmas. This is like a couple weeks after Christmas. And he got this new game called Twisted Metal 3. And we played the snot out of it.
Man, and people who don't know what Twisted Metal 3 is or any of Twisted Metals,
that was my
we just
favorite.
aged ourselves
big
so
time.
bad.
So all night. So we played out in the snow all day and we came home and we must have been up till 2 o'clock in the morning or something like that playing Twisted Metal with my dad. And we had
legit.
We had the 4 controllers going, and everything. It was great. So, all right.
That's really cool, actually, man. There's nothing like playing video games when you were a kid on a day off, man.
Well, I can't wait for my kids to be old enough I can play video games with them because, to me, that's like one of the good childhood memories I had with my dad. So,
maybe I should whip mine back out for the kids, but they just always fight. So it's,
yeah.
But anyway, next question.
All right. What's your favorite indoor activity when it's too cold outside in winter?
One or two things. I would say, family movie nights where it's like, pizza, and then you get like the blanket out, like legit family pizza picnic movie night. I love those. But I would say just playing cards with Beth. Get some, make some coffee, play some hand foot. Not books and runs. I always lose at that. And probably not Ticket to Ride either because I always lose at that too. But I would say just play some hand foot, drink some coffee with Beth. That sounds like a good old time. Especially when her family's in town because it gets vicious.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I would say my favorite indoor activity is probably, like you said, having like a family night or movie night or something. If with the kids, without the kids, it would be putting a puzzle together with Janelle. We love to do puzzles. So that's what we used to do before kids all the time was we just do puzzles.
Now, you normally watch a movie when you're doing the puzzles?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely watch a movie while we do puzzles. But yeah.
Watch the Hallmark Channel and watch all them Christmas movies with Cameron Cannon Burr and Jen Lilly?
No. This guy doesn't.
All them peeps?
This guy does not watch the Hallmark Channel.
I do not either.
Anyways.
I do not either.
All right, so last question.
one more. Okay, I'm ready.
And we'll wrap it up, all right?
I'm ready.
So what's one gift you secretly hope to receive this year?
I'm going to let you go first this time because I've gone first a lot recently.
I don't really know. That's
Come
why.
on, man.
Yeah, I didn't really think about it.
You want that new. You want that new pod or the podcaster mic we've been looking at. That'd be pretty dope.
No. I can't
sponsorship.
say. No, not. You know what? I'm pretty content right now, to be honest with you. My sister asked me, "What do you want for Christmas?" I'm like, I don't know.
Ooh, someone should get Fuller some new sod.
Sod.
Man, for your grass because you have had the worst hand with this property. Man.
It's coming back.
It's coming back.
I've been working at it hard. I'll get it this next couple of years. It'll be luscious green again.
Because it was nice until they had to put that stinking mound system in for your
it was
stuff.
okay, and then they put the mound system in. And it made it worse.
Yeah,
it wasn't the greatest.
It wasn't like Trader's Point.
Nope. So, all right. So what's yours?
I have a reasonable one and a funny one.
Okay.
The funny one is at Sam's Club right now, there is a arcade console system thing for NFL Blitz, and that is pretty freaking dope. I'd probably only play it
about
one
that
or two
game.
times.
I love that game.
I was absolutely obsessed with it. So I played that a ton.
I lost a lot of money to my dad playing that game.
I just lost some money in the arcade.
Well, he taught me valuable lessons about gambling with that game. About why you shouldn't gamble.
That's really funny.
Yep.
But no, so it was at Sam's Club. I took a picture. I sent it to my little sibling group chat with Joe. What's up, Joe? Amanda, today's her birthday, by the way. Happy birthday, Amanda. And Beth, and I'm like, hey, if anybody wants to get this for me and Joe, we be down. And Joe was like, yes, please. And Beth just laughed. So that's my joke of one. Okay. But my actual one, I would love to have another coffee subscription. Another coffee subscription where I get different coffees every 3 weeks from different places all over America.
That's cool. Awesome.
That would be stinking legit.
All right. Well, now that we've had our little fun, why don't we go ahead and read a review? We've already talked about the coffee. We're drinking Peruvian. He's drinking it out of the Christmas mug. I'm drinking out of the Ngeti. By the way, Ngeti has changed their name. It's no longer Ngeti. It is Revive Fest.
But we going, baby.
And if you would like to go too, let us know before you go and buy your tickets because we might be able to work out a little.
We have the hookups.
We might might get a little discount for you.
We have the
So let us know that you want to go. We'll get a hold of the man, the myth, and the legend, Matt
good old
Grimm,
Matt.
and see what we can work out for you guys. But yeah, we would love to do a meet and greet this year at the Revive Fest. Man, some good headliners there.
We Are Messengers and Ren Collective.
And Ren Collective.
Those are the headliners
I'm so looking
year,
forward
man.
to
Ren
it.
Collective's
So.
going to put on a stinking show. So
Yeah,
if you're
they
anywhere near Southwest Michigan,
or
you want to fly in, just hang out with us for 2 days.
Yeah, well, not even flying, just drive if you're close enough. But yeah, come hang out with RTC. Let's make it a family affair. We've even talked about let's do a potluck.
That
if
would
you're
be
coming,
dope.
let us know. Let's do a potluck.
We're going to hang out. It's a big field. There's like activities for the kids. I think there's bounce houses last year too.
Yeah, there was all sorts of
playground
stuff. Bubble, the whole bubble palace looking
That was
thing.
pretty dope.
That was pretty
That was pretty dope.
outstanding.
So there's plenty of stuff to do for the kids and just hang out, get some food, and just hang out on the lawn, man. Throw the frisbee around, throw the football.
Well, yeah, we're just
good
gonna hang
music.
out. Yeah, hang out, have conversations, and have a lot of fun. So
Have Matt Grimm sign your bald head. I don't know. Maybe Matt Grimm will sign your head.
Ooh,
That'd be really funny.
That would be cool. But yeah,
Not our bald head because we got hair.
well,
Yours is growing back.
it's growing back. Anyways,
Yours is growing back.
So if you want to go and meet up with us, let us know, and we will work out getting you a discount. So
That would be awesome.
alrighty. So the review today comes from DonMan567.
I'm gonna guess Homeboy's a bro.
Yeah,
Unless her last name is Don Man. I feel
it's
really
the
bad
Don
now.
Man. That way, that's
Mark your bingo board. Mark your bingo board.
why, because you did the gender.
Yeah.
That's why I just said it's the Don Man.
You know I have fun doing
Anyways, the best Christian podcast ever.
that. Wow, okay.
I found Mark and Chris a week ago on Spotify and wanted to leave a review on the Apple Podcast platform to double dip my support. We'll take it.
Double dip your support. Let's go.
Besides the great theology and discussion, I feel very at home listening to the podcast. I love you guys. Thank you.
Aw,
we love
love
you
you
too.
too.
The Don Man.
Because right now we have 140 reviews on Apple Podcasts.
Yep.
And on Spotify, I just had it pulled
We're
up,
up over 500 subscribers on YouTube.
which is wild. We're close to 500 in the Facebook group.
We're still we
close.
we just had a month of 25,000 downloads.
599
Nice.
ratings on Spotify. Dude, you guys are awesome. And it seems like people are messaging us and commenting and writing us emails that people are finding this show every single day.
And we're here
it's just
for
awesome, man.
Two dudes in a basement.
Two dudes in
we
a basement.
should rename the
microphones.
podcast.
Two bros, but that doesn't have good search results.
No, it
That doesn't have good search
No, it
results. But
doesn't.
either way, dude, Don Man, reach out to us. And if you're inside the United States, we want to send you a mini swag bag, and there might even be some special little things inside there for you.
Maybe.
We'll see.
All right, so let's dive into Christmas traditions today.
All right, I'm ready. I'm ready to be taking down memory lane.
This
a
is
little bit.
pretty much just a bunch of. It's a fact episode.
Okay.
It's just a bunch of facts.
Okay.
So we're just going to go ahead and start reading, and we can discuss along the way. But it's really not. It's more of a fun episode.
Just to learn about Christmas.
It's just
why we do
learn
what
about
we
some
do.
learn about some of the traditions and that surround Christmas.
Sarah, we're going to talk about traditions from around the world too today? Or not so much?
Not so
Not so much? Okay.
We'll see.
We'll find out.
There's some.
I'm along for the ride too.
Ancient around the world. Yeah, you had.
In case anyone's wondering, I have not even looked at the show notes.
So, anyways,
So I'm going to enjoy the along
so
the ride
let's
too.
first talk about what is the Grimm history. I got to adjust my mic.
Not
here.
the Matt Grimm.
not the Grimm brothers.
Say, Grimm,
but
what is your Grimm history?
Yeah.
Put us in the Facebook group, Matt. What's the Grimm
What's
history?
the Matt Grimm history? No, but what is the Grimm history of Christmas? Ooh. I don't
Bro,
know.
wrong season, bro.
Sorry. All right. So this comes from the BibleStudyTools.com. During Christ's time, Roman culture regularly celebrated feasts and festivals to honor their pagan gods during the winter solstice. Saturnalia, a festival in honor of Saturn, was held from December 17th to December 24th.
Oh, it's for my birthday.
And the festival of I don't know if you want to have that in common, but the festival of Juvenalia commemorated a feast for the children of Rome and was marked on December 25th to honor Mithra, the god of the unconquerable sun. The pagan history would later prove an important part of the origin of Christmas. In the 2nd century AD, Sextus Julius Africanus, a notable Christian historian, proclaimed December 25th as Christ's birthday. His assumption about the date was based upon other theories believed by scholars at the time. Africanus believed that the world was created by God on March 25th. which is weird, right?
Well, which we talked about why they picked that date last year.
Yeah. So, therefore, the Savior's conception must have happened on the same day, which would have led to Jesus' birth 9 months later on December 25th.
Yep, because if I remember, I'm trying to pull the notes up. I can't find them fast enough, but it was holy men it was something about holy men being conceived at like the same day they die or something like that. Like I think that's what it's like holy men were conceived the same day they actually died. So if Jesus died in the spring, he must have been conceived in the spring, which meant he would have been, popped out in December.
Sure. So, although Africanist's theory was widely accepted, it wasn't until the 4th century AD the church officials decided to institute an official holiday to commemorate the birth of Christ. Pope Julius I chose December 25th for the holiday as a practical and symbolic means to dethrone the pagan gods. Placed the Christ child in the seat of worship during the winter festival and feasts. This type of syncretism was often used by the Roman Catholic Church to acclimate pagan cultures to Christianity. The new holiday, originally branded the Feast of the Nativity, spread to Egypt by 432 and reached England in the 6th century, where it was renamed Christmas. However, the holiday bore little resemblance to Christmas today. Even though the church had successfully redirected the focus of worship from multiple pagan gods to Christ, the immoral celebratory style of the culture remains central to the holiday's festival. On December 25th, Christians would attend a special church service. Afterward, parishioners would indulge in drunken feasts, engage in wanton sex, and mob the streets in carnival-like displays of revelry.
Yeah, because that's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah. The poor would use the holiday as an excuse to terrorize the rich and demand gifts and food in recompense for their misfortune. This all changed during the early 17th century when Oliver Cromwell and his Puritan forces took over England and sparked a surge of religious reform. In an effort to rid England of the debauchery that had infiltrated the church, the Puritans not only canceled Christmas, but also made the observation of the holiday illegal. One public post issued by the Puritans warned that if anyone who observed the sacrilegious and satanical holiday by exchanging gifts, dressing in fine clothes, or feasting would be fined 5 shillings.
Sounds like what people do with Halloween nowadays.
All right.
but seriously, so when we come to this tradition, we see it was a festival. It was like a pagan festival. Christians usurped it. Christians were not being okay for Christmas.
So it was.
That's like a pretty checkered past, man.
It was basically the celebration that the pagans were doing it was the celebration of these gods, but it was also celebrating the darkest time of the year. There's other weird traditions, and I don't remember if we're getting into those or not. I can't remember. I've read so many articles during this that I can't remember what I picked out or not. So if there's something about the mistletoe. Remind me mistletoe if we don't get into it.
There's something about the mistletoe.
Yeah, it's really weird. So,
okay.
Anyways, so throughout history, Rome and all this stuff is kind of where the solstice celebration came from, and then Africanists kind of tried to change directions with it by claiming it was Christ's birthday, which we know is not.
Nope.
And then the Pope, Mr. Pope Julius I.
I was going to say, who redeemed it? Yeah. Was it Pope Julius?
Yeah, it said Pope Julius. I'm sorry. Pope Julius I chose December 25th for the holiday as a practical and symbolic means to dethrone the pagan gods.
Who brought it back to the normal practice? Because if the Puritans went...
So that's where...
That's what I'm curious about now.
It kind of, from the 17th century forward, was pretty much...
Probably not across the world, though, but was that just England?
That was in England, right? And that was in most places with the, it was in Germany. It still continued on, but it looked a little different, right? It was, this is where we get like St. Nicholas and all this stuff from, right? Which we discussed previously. And I think it was a bonus episode 50 something, maybe before that. I don't know.
Oh, actually, no. So this was also banned in America. So in 1659, the Puritans banned Christmas in Massachusetts.
Sure, right, exactly. So yeah, it was banned because of the Puritans. So now we're going to get into the history of Christmas here in the United States.
Wow,
right?
That's fascinating. Okay.
All right, so here we go. In America's pre-Revolutionary War era, the early settlers brought the debate about Christmas with them to the colonies, right? The Puritans coming over, Mayflower, they held the same belief that they were bringing from England. Some believe strongly that Christmas should be celebrated minus the immoral activities. Others considered the holiday sacrilegious. Because of this controversy, the observance of Christmas was considered taboo in some states and illegal in others until 1870. Most historians agree the reason for America's change of heart regarding Christmas can be linked to three key factors: 2 classical works of fiction and Queen Victoria's influence. So when Washington Irving wrote the sketchbook of Geoffrey Crayon, Gent, in 1819, the collection of the stories took America by storm. The sketch title, Christmas, painted a vivid literary picture of selfless giving and peaceful nostalgia that soothed the nation's post-war tension. So the story was also so well received that Americans adopted Irving's fictitious Christmas traditions as true customs of the season. Here's the fun one, right? Charles Dickens' 1843 novel, The Christmas Carol,
which is one of the greatest stories of all time. The greats.
Caused America to rethink and reimagine what Christmas could be like if charity, goodwill, and families were given a chance to thrive during Christmas time. So it's kind of cool that you got two authors that are like writing books, fictitious books, and it helped change tradition.
Yeah, it's kind of, I mean, it's the same idea like with Pilgrim's Progress, and there's a lot of times fiction books, for lack of a better word, create the beautiful picture of what could be and what can be and what should be.
Right.
And sometimes it just speaks, like stories speak volumes, man.
Right.
I was trying to look this up and I couldn't find it real quick besides Christmas controversies. So, England, the Puritans, the Massachusetts Bay Colony, they all stopped celebrating Christmas because it basically just became outlawed of the type of celebration. But obviously, people still remember that this was celebrate Jesus' birth, that Jesus coming and this like that in certain contexts because we didn't lose it.
Certain groups.
But I wonder, and this I don't know, and I was trying to find it really fast Googling, did the Catholic Church stop celebrating Christmas? What the other colonies were like?
Everything I read.
We're talking about in America right now.
Yeah,
though.
everything I read, I didn't see any progress from there.
Yeah, we're talking about America right now.
There's some which we'll talk about in a little bit of some of the traditions that came from the Catholic Church, but we'll get to that in a bit. So, 1843 Christmas Carol, and that was kind of the big push, right? Those couple of works, the
sketchbook
the
of
title,
Geoffrey Crayon,
Geoffrey Crayon, the Christmas Carol. And the Christmas Carol, were two of the fictitious books that really pushed most of the traditions of charitable giving, of peace on earth, goodwill to men type of things that we see. Not so much in the Christian families, right? Because Christian families, we celebrate Jesus. We do celebrate these things, but everybody, right? Everybody's kind of like, oh, this is a time when we're supposed to be charitable. This is why we give to the, Mr. Santa Claus outside.
And Salvation Army.
Right, exactly. So that's why you see a lot of that. So in 1870, President Grant declared Christmas a national holiday. So just think about that, right? Christmas has only been around as a national holiday here in the United States for 150 years.
Which is weird.
So a national holiday in commemoration of the birth of Jesus Christ. Historians believe that Grant's decision was a strategic move to encourage a sense of unity at a time when urbanization, industrialization, and the aftermath of the Civil War had left the nation ill at ease. Christians expand on that reason to explain that Grant wanted to remind Americans of their common faith in Jesus Christ, the Prince of Peace, at a time when peace was desperately needed in our nation. So
that's cool.
That's kind of a quick history.
Yeah, I actually did not know some of that.
A quick history really cool, of everything. So, what's some other interesting stories that we may see? Just like little snippets of stories that we may see that have happened around the Christmas events, right? Around this time of Christmas. So one thing that's kind of cool, poinsettias, right? So in Mexico, poinsettias grow wild in large bushes that flush with bright red leaves in the dead of winter. In fact, in Mexico, poinsettias are called Flor de Noche Bueno. Yeah, I suck with sorry,
Ferrix.
Yeah, Ferrix are going to kill me. Flor de Noche Bueno, or Christmas Eve flower. They got their odd English name from Joel R. Poinsett, the very first U.S. minister to Mexico, who brought back the red and green plants from a visit in 1828. Christmas was just beginning to be widely celebrated in America, and Poinsett rightly predicted that the festival plants would be a national seasonal hit. By 1900, they were a universal symbol of Christmas.
That's cool. I did not know that one.
That was a cool little story, right? Of the first Christian minister to Mexico brings back poinsettias. It makes me want to have poinsettias in my house for Christmas.
I just like them.
Just because of that tradition, right? So, yeah, I've never had, I like them, but I've never had them in my house, but it makes me want to have them now. So, all right. So the NORAD Santa tracker. Mm-hmm. You know this story?
I don't know the story, but I know what it is.
So in 1955, at the height of the Cold War tensions with the Soviet Union, a general at the Continental Air Defense Command, or CONAD, in Colorado received a call on a top secret hotline. Bracing himself for the news of a missile attack, the general instead heard the shaky voice of a young boy asking, "Are you really Santa Claus?" The number
The
number had been mistakenly published in the newspaper as a Sears Santa hotline. But instead of dismissing the incident, CONAD, renamed the North American Aerospace Defense Command, or NORAD, in 1958, embraced the role as the official Santa tracker, using its massive satellite network once a year to broadcast Santa's exact whereabouts. Today, 1,500 NORAD troops and volunteers answer phone lines on Christmas Eve.
That's dope.
Isn't that cool?
Way to go, Sears.
Yeah, right.
Way to go, Sears.
How did they get the number, first of all?
Man, kids nowadays don't even know what the Sears catalog was all about at Christmas.
Yeah,
man.
but isn't that cool?
Now there's Amazon, but
Sears accidentally puts
a confidential number.
NORAD, and it starts a whole tradition.
It kind of makes me wonder, like, if we start calling numbers in old Sears ads, like, would we find Area 51? like, are they publishing like it would kind of crack me up in the marketing department? Some disgruntled U.S. like government employees, like, yeah, let's screw this up.
Yeah, that'd be funny.
That's really funny.
So,
but that's super cool. The fact that he rolled with it for the sake of the kid is even better.
Oh yeah,
you know?
right. He's like, oh, okay, well, let me see where Santa's at here. Yeah, I'm not Santa, but I'm his tracker. Let me track him. Oh, so he's right over here right now, and yeah. Like that little boy, probably made that little, oh, my Santa's real.
Because like I knew guys who would like for fun like have like the Santa tracker on their phone. So that's the Santa tracker that I know. Is you can track where Santa is because it's the same every single year.
Right. Yeah. Sorry, I had to drink of water. All right. So
not that we believe in Santa Claus.
No.
Or teach it.
Yeah, I don't teach it either, but it's still cool, right?
It's awesome. I love
it's a
Santa,
tradition,
though, man.
right? I have Santa in my house because it's a tradition. It's on our coffee mug.
Because you are Santa.
No. But it's on our coffee mug. I love Santa. Santa is like a big part of my Christmas tradition,
100%.
like my family Christmas tradition. So
we sat at Santa's lap every single year for Christmas pictures.
So at one time, Christmas stopped the war. And I know you've heard this one, right? And most people have. So on December 7th, 1914, 5 months into the outbreak of fighting in World War I, Pope Benedict the 15th called for a temporary ceasefire during the Christmas season. Military leaders on all sides ignored the request, but the troops in the trenches responded. As night fell on Christmas Eve, sounds of Christmas carols began ringing out in German and English across no man's land. The next morning, unarmed German soldiers approached the British line shouting, "Merry Christmas!" They were met with hearty handshakes, gifts of chocolate and cigarettes, and a spirited game of soccer. The so-called Christmas truce was short-lived and never repeated, but it speaks to our shared sense of humanity even in the darkest moments.
And soccer has a way of bringing cultures together.
And chocolate and cigarettes. It was lumped into the same thing.
I mean, that's where Madam Secretary, like, they got that idea from, I think, from that one episode where they did this the kid soccer game between Israel and Iran, I think, or something like that, to just show, like, the camaraderie of what we can do.
Right. Yeah. Put everything aside. Yeah.
So I know that one. That one's just actually really cool. And I think it actually shows a little side of these were just normal dudes who were far from home.
That's what it said. It showed a sense of a shared humanity in the darkest moments, right?
Yeah, because a lot of times, man, I mean, I don't want to go too far off the beaten path, but there's a lot of dark times as well, and it's like can Christmas be that time to bring neighbors together and neighborhoods together, and sometimes we just don't do that and don't lean into it. But
it's the time for peace on earth and goodwill to men.
All right. Good news, baby.
So here's the last one. This is kind of like a fun fact that I think we did at one point, or we've talked about at one point.
I'm sure this was a fun fact at some point.
But I love it, and so I put it in here again. So Rudolph was a marketing ploy. I'm pretty sure it was our first year's fun fact. So in 1939, retail giant Montgomery Ward, you remember that store? Came up with the idea.
I know what it is, but
You don't remember
we didn't really have
Montgomery
one
Ward?
back where I used to live. And when I moved
okay.
here, that just closed down.
Yeah, okay. So they came up with the idea of writing its own Christmas book to hand out to kids during the coming holiday shopping season. The task fell to copywriter Robert May, who took inspiration from his daughter's love of the reindeers at the zoo and his own children as a small and his own childhood as a small shy kid who was never invited to play sports. More than 2 million copies of the original Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer illustrated booklet were distributed in 1939, and the character instantly became a beloved part of American Christmas lore.
That's just fun. When did the original Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer movie come out?
Oh, I don't know. It was a while. It was black and white originally, so 1940 something, I'm guessing.
1964.
Oh, wow, I was off. Way off.
So that was 30 years later?
Rudolph the Red. Yeah. Yep. 30
Yeah.
years later.
That movie freaked me out as a kid. I'm not going to lie.
You didn't like the Humble Bumble?
I didn't like the
He's a
Yeti.
humble-
I didn't like the Yeti.
Yeah, the Bumble.
Oh, that was his name? I don't know. It just something about that claymation just made like it just freaked me out as a kid. I didn't like the Island of Misfit toys.
It was hilarious.
Like
Yeah.
I didn't like it.
So I love those old classics. Like I still watch those classics every year. Like that one, the Year Without Santa, is another classic. That's the claymation.
I don't know that
So,
one.
All right, so let's dive in a little further. When did Christmas become more Christian? So you talked about this a little bit.
Yeah, this was the question I was sitting at.
So it was. I read this interesting article in Christianity Today that talked about Martin Luther actually had a big influence in the Protestant church for influencing Christmas, which would tell me that he must have had a lot of these beliefs, being that he was Catholic, right? So I would assume that some of these beliefs were still going on in the Catholic Church during the time of Luther. So, the Christmas tree, special carols, and presents on December 24th, these much-loved traditions are all linked to Martin Luther. Start with the tree. While walking through a snowy woods under a bright starlit sky, the beauty of the scene so moved Luther that he wanted to recreate it in his home. So he cut down a fresh tree, brought it inside, and decorated it with real candles, or as the story goes.
Sam, that doesn't sound wise.
So it's, yeah, or as the story goes. What is known as the Great Reformer composed a Christmas carol still sung today, from heaven above to earth I come, to bear good news to every home, which I have never personally heard that carol.
I don't know that one.
But yeah, so I guess that's a carol that's supposedly still sung today. That he wrote. He also moved the date gifts were given from St. Nicholas Day, which was December 6th, to Christmas Eve, December 24th, which I never knew that.
I never knew that. No.
And I thought that was really, really interesting.
I knew about the tree, but I didn't know about the date move.
Yeah, so
fascinating.
So a couple of years back, we did this St. Nicholas or Sinterklaas. Remember that whole thing?
Yep, I remember that one.
And so we talked about that they celebrated Sinterklaas. They never really celebrated birth, but his death, remember? And he died on December 6th, which is why they went through that. That was our old...
Right, which also, I mean, St. Valentine's that way,
Right,
St. Patrick is that way, so obviously St. Nick would be that way too.
That's right. So yeah, another thing, Luther's writings contain a multitude of references to Advent and Christmas. The following excerpt comes from a sermon of the Nativity that he preached in 1530. And he said, "If Christ has arrived with trumpets and lain in a cradle of gold, his birth would have been a splendid affair, but it would not have comfort to me. He was rather to lie in the lap of a poor maiden and be thought of little significance in the eyes of the world. Now I come to him. Now he reveals himself to the miserable in order not to give an impression that he arrives with great power, splendor, wisdom, and aristocratic manners, but upon his return on that." Man, that was a mouthful. When I read it, I was like, "Oh, that's really good." But so that was a little excerpt from a sermon that he preached.
Yes, the fact that he didn't come as the reigning king, he came as the lowly servant.
Right, exactly. So yeah, it was interesting to me reading some of these articles. And all these articles, we've always posted the links in the show notes. So if you want to read the full articles, go to our show notes, which are displayed. If you're on Spotify, they're in there. If you're on Pandora, they're in there. Apple Podcasts,
all the places,
on and so forth. Just scroll down, click the more, and you'll see them there at the bottom.
So far we've talked about old traditions and where a lot of our things come from.
How the U.S. came to really accept and
bad
expound.
News of Christmas.
Expand on Christmas. How Martin Luther had a influence on Christmas. Some of the other Christmas traditions, like where poinsettias came from, the NORAD tracker, these types of things. So now I want to talk a little bit more about like what our actual modern Christian traditions are in this day and age, right? So, and kind of some of the meanings and symbols that they represent. But first, before I jump into all that, I want to talk about Santa Claus again, just to kind of do a recap review of who
then it goes
Santa
into
Claus
Christian
was.
tradition, yeah.
Right, exactly. So Santa Claus is a Dutch word that is actually Sinterklaas, St. Nicholas in English. We covered this bonus episode called What Should Christians Do with Santa in 2019. So if you haven't listened to that, go back and listen to it, and it's going to be in the show notes. So St. Nicholas was the supposed early bishop of a church in Asia Minor, the modern-day country of Turkey. He became aware of a desperate need in his congregation and a family having to sell their children into slavery. So one night he came and left money on their doorstep. It was gold in a stocking. So that's who St. Nicholas was. That's where we get Santa Claus and the whole tradition of Santa Claus, but it actually came from the story of St. Nicholas. So let's get into some of the things. We're going to talk about evergreen trees, candles, holly, the color red, the Christmas wreath, gifts, Yule log, so on and so forth. So evergreens were the symbol of eternal life. Martin Luther introduced them to the Reformation Church as a picture of our endless life in Christ by bringing in a tree to his family on Christmas Eve lit with candles. And then the scripture that goes along with that was Isaiah 60:13. Are you going to pull it up for me? Yeah, pull it up. It might not pull up. It might pull
Isaiah 60:13.
Yeah.
The glory of Lebanon will come to you, the juniper, the fir, and the cypress together to adorn my sanctuary, and I will glorify the place for my feet.
So that's why he brought the evergreen tree.
That's cool.
So, all right. You're going to be my scripture reader here.
Okay.
Let's get you involved, sir.
I'm ready. I've just been chilling.
All right.
I've been chilling listening to all the fun facts.
That's what evergreen trees are symbolic of in a Christian home for this day and age. So the other one is candles are a picture that Christ is the light of the world, John 8.
And that's an entire chapter, so it's a big chapter.
So let's just say John 8. It talks about him being the light of the world. Did you want to read any of it or not?
Well, that's what I'm scrolling through over Jesus' assessment. When Jesus spoke into the people, he said, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. And then the Pharisees challenged him and said, here you are appearing as your own witness. Your testimony is invalid. And then Jesus said, even if I testify on my own behalf, my testimony is still valid. For I know where I came from and where I'm going. But you have no idea where I come from or where I'm going. You judge by human standards. I pass judgment on no one. And then he continues.
Yeah. So Jesus is the light of the world. Bam. That's why we do candles. That's what candles represent. All right. So holly speaks of the thorns in his crown.
Now that comes from the Easter story, though, when and they twisted together a crown of thorns and set it on his head, being Jesus. They put a staff in his right hand, and then they knelt in front of him, mocked him, saying, "Hail, hail, King of the Jews!"
Right, and that comes from Matthew 27:29.
Yep. And now, was that also a reference to an Old Testament prophecy as well?
Yeah, and I don't remember.
I don't remember off the top of my head either.
I'm sure it was probably Isaiah 53, since that's the forbidden.
The suffering servant.
Yeah, that's the forbidden chapter. So yeah, red is the color of Christmas that speaks of Christ's blood and death, which is funny because Janelle and I were just talking today. We're setting up for Christmas pictures and all this stuff. I'm like, oh, we can do this thing. And she's like, it's got red in it. I'm like, yeah. She goes, it doesn't go with our Christmas outfits. I'm like, yeah, but it's red. I like the color red. Yeah, but it's not very Christmassy red.
But I'm like, Jesus, like,
now listen here. It represents the blood of Christ, all right?
Gotcha.
So, anyways.
Or, in all honesty, was it just the fact that poinsettias were so cool so that we had to give a religious reason for the color red being there?
Possibly.
You know?
Possibly. So the Christmas wreath represents the crown of thorns also that Jesus wore. Later, the three colors of Christmas were added: red, green, and gold. Red represents the blood of Jesus. Green symbolizes life, and gold means light, which I thought was really awesome. Yeah. So gifts are a reminder of the gifts of the Magi to baby Jesus. Each of them speak to a component of his incarnation: majesty in life, bitterest agony in death, and he as God's perfect gift to us. And that comes from Matthew 2.
Gold, frankincense, and myrrh.
Yeah. So the Yule log, I like this one too, was a symbol by which all men in the family would carry a log large enough to burn for 12 days into the house. They were identifying with Christ and his cross. The fire was started with a fragment of from the previous years. This refers to the eternal existence of Christ before his birth. So it speaks of warmth, unity, joy, and the security of endless life. I thought that was really interesting.
That's really cool, actually.
Yeah.
Some friends are just worth melting for.
Okay, Olaf. All right. So mistletoe was an ancient symbol for the Roman times, which I'm going to get to here in a sec. It was under mistletoe the old enmities and broken friendships were restored. So Christ was the one who took away the enmity and gave us peace with God, Romans 5:1 and Romans 8:1. So they said in their Roman times, the symbol for Roman times, so there was a god that she killed her son, and then in order for her son to be, she somehow, I forget how it went, but she brought her son back to life. It was
It's a classic Roman mythology.
So the son got brought back to life, and so she said that because of that, it was under mistletoe, so she would kiss any person that came under the mistletoe with her, and that's the whole kissing under the mistletoe where that came from. So that was another interesting fact.
That is really interesting. Okay.
So that's where kissing under the mistletoe comes from. Dig into that. So bells are associated with ringing out news. Christ is the good news, the best news of all. All right. So we're going to get back into the Christmas tree. So we heard earlier that Martin Luther, right? He was
walking and he cut one down and he wanted to bring that beauty into his own house. And the evergreen.
There's that, and we're going to talk about that again in the third point. But there's also two other points of possible explanations for it.
Okay.
So I'm just going to give you all the accounts. So it says, among many accounts claiming to explain the origin of the Christmas tree, the three most popular are from Germany, making it the likeliest place of origin. The stories span from the 8th to the 16th century. All three have some element of historical fact, and they may even loosely connect from one to another. So this is where we get into it. So first story is about Saint Boniface. In the 8th century, he was a missionary to some of the remotest tribes of Germany. He is probably best known for what is called the felling of Thor's oak, which I've heard that story many times. It is said that upon entering a town in northern Hesse, or Hessia, Boniface learned that the people worshiped the god Thor, who they believed resided in the great oak tree among them. Boniface determined that if he wanted to earn an audience with the people, he would have to confront Thor. He announced before the people that he was going to cut down the oak, and he openly challenged Thor to strike him down. Miraculously, as Boniface began to chop the oak, a mighty wind blew and hurled the tree to the ground. Tradition holds that the fir tree was growing in the roots of the oak, and Boniface claimed the tree as a symbol of Christ. Needless to say, the people readily accepted Boniface's message, and the tree eventually came to be associated with the birth of Christ and the celebration of the day when the mighty God, who could hurl a gigantic oak to the ground, chose to humbly enter the world as a babe.
That's interesting.
So that's the original story that I had heard, was St. Boniface. And I think it came from Adventures in Odyssey, to be honest with you. And Gino's probably going to be like, yeah, it's this on this episode, because she knows all the episodes. All right, so the second thing that is a possibility is another possible source of the Christmas tree, and probably the most likely, comes from the medieval religious plays in Germany. Among the most popular of these plays was the Paradise play. It started with the creation of man, acted out the first sin, and showed Adam and Eve being expelled from paradise, or the Garden of Eden. It closed with the promise of a coming Savior, which made the play a particular favorite during the Christmas season. In the play, the Garden of Eden was most often represented by a fir tree hung with apples and surrounded by candles.
But still a fir tree.
Still a fir tree. So in the third tradition about the origin of Christmas tree is attributed to Martin Luther, an influential leader in the Reformation. Some say that on Christmas Eve, Luther was walking through the woods near his home. He was struck by the beauty of how the snow shimmered in the moonlight and the branches of the trees. In an effort to recreate the magnificent sight for his family, he cut down the tree, placed it in his home, and decorated it with candles. So those are kind of the three. Man,
this episode's just been a fun fact with Fuller about Christmas.
That's what I said.
That's exactly what this episode has been.
It's just a bunch of fun traditional facts
of where it all comes from.
So we always go into this deep theology, and sometimes we just got to kick our shoes off, grab a hot cup of cocoa, and sit by the fire and relax.
Ask, where on earth did this even come from?
Yeah, why do we even celebrate it? So, I mean...
And that's probably the next question is, so that's where it comes from, so what do we do with it?
Yeah, so as Christians, Christmas time is a time to remember God coming to live among us. Starting in the womb of a young virgin, born into humble circumstances, celebrated by some and hated by others, growing to adulthood, proclaiming the coming of the kingdom of God, dying on a Roman cross as the atoning sacrifice for the sin of the world, and raised to life on the third day. Whether Jesus was born on December 25th or not is immaterial. What matters is he was born and began his life and worked among us. I thought that was a good way to sum up why we as Christians should celebrate Christmas, right?
Yeah, and
there's a lot of people out there that go, oh, well, we shouldn't celebrate. It's all pagan, which we talked about.
There's a lot of Christians who actually say that too. And they're like, we shouldn't celebrate the this pagan holiday.
Right. And so, I could see that, right? But I can also see how Christmas has turned into something different. It is not the same. It is a recognizable. There's a lot of symbolism for us to help us. And like we talked about in the Advent episode a couple weeks ago, about helping us refocus on Christ. Even though we know it's not Christ's actual birthday, it helps us get that focus.
Well, it's the focus, right? And we'll talk about this next week with trying to figure out new rhythms that we should have going into 2023.
2 weeks.
In 2 weeks.
We'll talk. No, next week. You're right.
Is it next week? I thought it was. Yeah, I messed it up.
Sorry, no, I messed up. Yeah.
No, but for reals though, it's like it's a good rhythm to have in our life where it's the one time, not the one time, but it's a very obvious time of year that culture even comes around for us to remember why we celebrate the reason for the season. Now, obviously, there's a lot more other things that happen during the holidays, such as family get-togethers, New Year's, happy holidays, these different things. But the nice thing for us as Christmas is it gives us a beautiful time to reflect with Christmas Eve services and then celebrating Christmas Day and reading the gospel narrative of Jesus coming to earth, God in the flesh, God among us. He pitched his tent and dwelt among us. Like he took up residence with us.
Well,
and this is something that we need to keep our eyes and mind focused on to never forget. And Christmas gives us a really, I don't want to say easy, but at the same time, a simple segue into that conversation.
Well, yeah. And that's the thing, right? Is that twice a year, most non-Christians attend church. And those 2 times a year are Christmas.
Creasters. For Creaster people.
Christmas and Easter. Right. And so now's the time that we can share the gospel, right? It's a perfect opportunity time. And most people are open to it at this time. For whatever reason, they just are. I mean,
sometimes it's just tradition, it's just traditional Christmas candles. When you're at grandma's house, she's dragging your butt to church. Some of it's just a tradition that they grew up with.
Midnight mass. You got all this stuff that happens during the Christmas season. So I mean, it's just a good opportunity, and it's really cool to see some of these traditions and how they came about and where it came from. Right, where it came out of. It was. Not so much taking of the day, but it's like, all right, yeah, you guys celebrate that just like every day. There could be somebody celebrating tomorrow as some weird holiday that we're just like, no, it's Marc's birthday. We're going to celebrate Marc's birthday.
Let's go.
Or vice versa or whatever, So I think it's stop focusing so much on what it was and focus on what it is. And I think that's what we should
And
be
also
doing.
what it can be. And being intentional with the season, to intentionally remind ourselves, what on earth were you even celebrating this whole thing for?
Well, it's a good reminder for us and a good way for us to help others remember too.
Time for Fun Facts with Filler.
Man, maybe I should have just hit that button at the beginning of this episode.
Yeah, probably.
Be like, it's all Fun Fact with Fuller, man.
It's a walk through history.
Well, thank you for that. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But do you still have a fun fact to end the show?
I do.
You would never miss it.
This one is an interesting one. It's kind of taking a turn for the worse. We're back to the grim state, Matt Grimm.
Okay.
All right. Christmas decorating sends nearly 15,000 people to the ER every year.
What?
So if you've ever watched Clark Griswold decorate his house in A Christmas Vacation, which I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, but you should if you haven't.
I've seen Christmas with the Cranks.
No.
But
this is Christmas Vacation. This is the one where the guy's like arms out electrocuted with Christmas lights wrapped around him.
I know what you're talking about.
Christmas Vacation.
Yep, I know exactly
Phenomenal. All right. That stat likely doesn't shock you. In fact, the Consumer Product Safety Commission estimates that nearly 14,700 people visit hospital emergency rooms each November and December from holiday-related decorating accidents. So please be careful when putting up the holly and the iving or taking it down.
That's just what. That was a very aggressive intro.
That was all right.
That was a very aggressive.
It is what it is.
But that's a really interesting fact.
Yeah.
So celebrate Christmas. Enjoy your tree. Enjoy your holly. Enjoy your lights. But please don't kill yourself.
And celebrate when you get it all down safely.
Or you can just call them seasonal lights.
Ooh.
And just never take them down.
This is my spring light, and now it's my summer light.
Because you would never need to take it down if they're just always there. Which I did see these lights that I'm thinking about doing. Is these LED strips that go like up the peaks and around or whatnot, and they're like LED color changing. So if I want them orange, I can do orange for
that's
like
cool.
or purple for Halloween. I could do like green and red for Christmas. I can do blue for Easter. So
I bet you could set them up on to do like a music show and everything.
So yeah, I ain't doing that. That's too much work.
Come on, bro.
But they're so low pro that you don't even see them until
that'd
you
be
turn
cool.
the lights on. So I'm like, these are really cool. They ain't cheap, but that would just be really cool.
I wonder if you could take LED strips and just do under like the soffits and just like have the glow.
I mean, that's basically what this is.
That's cool.
Just a little bit more aggressive. But I love it, man. Well, dude, thank you for taking us down that little fun fact down the Christmas lane, man. And you know what? This past Christmas season, we did something a little different for all of our listeners where we were sending out Advent devotionals to get your mind focused on the Christmas season. I know Christmas is basically over. It's almost done. But you can still go back to the website right now to get access to all 5 of those Advent devotionals. They're just live. They're living, chilling on the website.
So
you
act
can just
now.
access act now and act for forever, where you can just access the Advent devotionals. But for those of you guys who actually signed up to receive those, I hope those were a blessing to you guys as well.
And if you haven't already, go check us out on YouTube where you can actually see us.
Hi.
I mean, it's not in person, but
I'm not this call this week.
No, you're back to normal
I'm back to
size.
normal.
But you can check us out. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell notification because we all know that the bell is an important part of Christmas.
So do it.
It's associated with ringing out the news. And so ring out the news of RTC.
Do it for baby Jesus.
And yeah, it's been such a fun time and it's such a good year. And I cannot wait for next week's episode. Make sure to come back. It's going to be a wrap up of 2022.
And as we enter to 2023 with a whole lot bigger RTC podcast family. So thank you guys for that. So we hope you guys had a Merry Christmas. Celebrate with your family. Remembering the birth of Jesus. We'll see you guys next week. But until next time,
Merry Christmas and take it easy.